Welcome to another episode of the Active Bariatric Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Terapelli, bariatric sports dietitian. Today, I am honored to have on a rock star in the bariatric community, Megan Shtab, also known as Megan's Mission on Instagram. Megan has maintained her 165-pound weight loss for nearly 2 years. Her weight loss journey began in November 2018 with the determination to have no more restarts, only pivots. In July 2021, she underwent vertical sleeve gastrectomy, and in April 2023, had a lower body lift with Dr. Dry at Athenix, removing 10 pounds of loose skin. Following a layoff from her corporate job in July, she used time for self-reflection after facing multiple job interviews and rejections. Drawing inspiration from her own experiences, she recently made a bold decision to leave the corporate world and pursue a fitness career. Her mission is to help others break free from toxic diet culture, discovering and unlocking the strengths they've had inside all along. Thanks so much for being here today, Megan. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I know I've been following you on Instagram, and I know just recently you won an award at the JBY. What was the award that you won?
Best Women's Fitness Journey. So that was really cool. And for those who don't know, JBY is just BU Awards. It's an award show that's put on by our Sleeve Life podcast. And it's just such an awesome event where all of us in the community come together. It doesn't matter if you win or not, but we're all just celebrating each other.
Yeah, 100%. It looked like so much fun. I saw tons of pictures, and it just looks like an amazing just time to get to know people. You know, we kind of get to know each other on the internet and that kind of thing. But when you get to actually meet in person, I feel like that's so much more powerful. I love it.
You can't even describe the energy in the room. It just very emotional and cold. They were blasting the air, but it was very emotional.
Well, I love it. Well, congratulations on that, by the way. That's
Thank you.
And so can you just start off by telling us a little bit about, why did you choose to have bariatric surgery and how it's changed your life?
Yeah. So like you said, I had the procedure in 2021, but my journey started in 2018. So I started out by doing Weight Watchers and taking classes at Orange Theory, which is a group fitness class, high intensity interval training. I actually lost 100 pounds on Weight Watchers. And then when the pandemic hit, it just, that was it. It was my ultimate roadblock. And I struggled at that point because the stigma of like the easy way out actually, it haunted me. And,
Sure.
I had this like reputation on social media as like, this is the girl that lost 100 pounds naturally. And I knew that bariatric surgery was the decision that was right for me in the direction that I wanted to head in. But I was so worried about what other people would think about me. It took me about a year to get over that and actually put myself first.
Sure.
But what I love to do now is spread awareness because I know there's a lot of people in the same exact boat.
Yeah, absolutely. And you feel like it was a good decision of, to have your bariatric surgery?
Oh my gosh. It was like the first day of the rest of my life. I think that I know it was the best decision I've ever made for my health.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you also mentioned that you had plastic surgery as well.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, part of the journey and, how did it impact your recovery? How did that go? And then also how you built back up to like being able to, have more movement?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm so happy. It was just like the whole thing is such a surreal thing. But the one thing that I always want to say, because I know there's a lot of people who have yet to get plastic surgery and are thinking about it, or maybe they're not in a position to do that right now. But, I just want to let you know that on my hard days before loose skin removal, I would just remind myself that like, hey, the old Megan would literally do anything to have loose skin and live the life that you're living now. So I know it doesn't always make it easier, but that's just, I want to share that. But the recovery first, I just want to say, when I was doing the research, all of these people, all these influencers on social media were like, oh, this recovery is so easy. I didn't realize it would be this awesome, and I'm like, this is going to be great. No, no.
Dang it. Was it as easy? Darn it.
No. And honestly, like
Oh,
I'm like really frustrated. And that's why, when I was
sure.
sharing my recovery journey, I was brutally honest and transparent so that other
Yeah.
people can have some more realistic expectations.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
but getting back to the gym was a big challenge. First, I was pretty much back at square one.
Yeah.
I had to modify a lot of different movements because of my core strength. So, just for example, some of the things that I might have done on a cable machine standing, because I didn't
Mhm.
have that, strength to really engage my core, I would have to do them sitting down. And
Sure.
even like today, which is I'm just over 6 months post op, I still have
Mhm.
to, sit down for a lot of different things. And I sometimes wear like a Velcro, they call them waist trainers. I hate that term, but like just extra support to kind of like hold
Sure.
me all in. Um,
Right.
the other big challenge I want to let you know about, and I know that this is really interesting, is after surgery, my appetite like disappeared.
Oh,
So
interesting. After plastics.
yeah.
Interesting.
So being able to eat enough to like properly fuel those workouts was a
Right.
big struggle.
Yeah. Yeah,
Definitely.
that's a challenge. Yeah, that's interesting. So how did you kind of work around that? Did you just implement a little bit, some snacks or smaller amounts more frequently?
Yeah. So snacks, exactly
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
Um, at that time, my restriction was restrictive. So little
Yeah.
bits here and there, and also more calorie dense foods so that I was still able to hit
Mhm.
those goals. So, eating a lot of things like nut butter, and just have things that have a higher calorie density and in a smaller
Yeah.
amount so that I also wasn't feeling sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, I know, because that's I think a piece too. Besides just the mobility piece being limited and things, is the nutrition to heal is so
Oh,
important
yeah.
that you're taking in adequate calories and protein and vitamins, micronutrients, because you have to heal, and that
Yep.
takes a lot of energy outside of just living, and your body just living, each day. So
Yep.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that might be a piece that people kind of overlook as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
so interesting when you figure out the way that food really does affect the way that you're healing and the way that you're feeling, and that's
Yeah.
really a definition of like listen to your body and just pay attention to those cues.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that was 6 months ago, and are you feeling like you're making progress now that you're back in the gym, if things are getting a little bit easier?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm back to finally having like a consistent split.
Yeah,
For a
yeah.
while, it was kind of you trying to get back into it, so you're consistent for a little bit, and then you're like, ugh, but getting into that rhythm again. But I feel like where I'm at right now for 6 months is a good place.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Well, let's talk a little bit more about too this big decision about leaving the corporate world to,
Yeah,
pursue a fitness career. Tell us a little bit about what kind of moved you to make that. That's a big decision. Tell us about that.
huge decision.
Yeah.
I mean, since starting my weight loss journey, my fitness journey, it's always kind of lived in the back of my head that I wanted to explore that and pay it forward in a way that I could really truly make an impact, be qualified to do so, and not just
Right.
reply to messages with a little, advice, but to actually really
Yeah.
make an impact.
Sure.
But my job did not give me any work life balance. So at the end of June, I was with my company for about 5 years. And at the end of
Okay.
June, they made me go on a business trip to England. And it was so tough because, I was pretty fresh out from plastic surgery. There was a 10-hour flight each way. There was, a lot of walking, a lot of activities, but my manager insisted it was necessary. Um, and she kind of dangled a carrot in front of me for a pay raise. And
Yeah. Sure.
this was the end of June, okay? And then she guilt tripped me into working on the 4th of July on a holiday. And then she tripped
Oh.
me into starting early on the 5th of July. And then I got let go out of nowhere.
Oh my gosh, that's
So
awful.
I was totally blindsided because it was a reality check because I learned that even the CEO emailing you, telling you how amazing you are at your job is not job security,
Yeah,
which is
that
like,
is so
it
true.
was very eye opening. But that's when I realized that my purpose is bigger than that. Um, So I did start looking for a new job. I was applying to jobs and having interviews, but I was also simultaneously, I signed up to start studying for my personal training and eventually nutrition. But the interview process just like wore me down completely. And I was battling myself between, hey, this is your calling, but then, hey, you got bills to pay. So
that's a tough start. That's a tough balance in the beginning. Yeah, I understand.
It's so difficult. But I realized that I could not give my full heart and soul to fitness and what I want to do unless I really truly put my full energy into it. And it was so scary. And I mean, even it's still very fresh, and I'm still like,
Sure.
oh boy, and I know it's going to get worse before it gets better, but my heart is in the right place. And that's what makes it unique. The fitness industry is so saturated, but especially with people that like don't have the right intentions, or they've never been there and they can't really connect with the people that they're going to be working with.
Right.
But I can, and I know that I'll be able to help people find themselves the way that I found, my life. And I keep saying, I'm not just going to help people change their lives, but I could help people save their lives. And that, I have hair sticking up on my arm.
That's powerful.
That's it. Like that.
Yeah.
That is my purpose. So I'm all in. I'm all in.
I love it.
I'm going to hopefully get coaching up and running. I want to do it the right way. I could go and start up a website and offer coaching right now, but that would just be a huge disservice and go against, any values that I have. So I'm thinking realistically, probably in like early 2024.
Oh, that's so exciting. Oh, I'm excited for you.
Thanks.
No, that's so great because, I mean, and you know what I think I appreciate the most is just, like you said, you're able to help folks from the perspective of being there and having been through this, the steps that they're progressing through as well. And that's a powerful, a voice that they can understand that you get it, you get it. You've been there, you understand their obstacles and struggles. And I'm excited for you because when I was talking to you about this before we, recorded today, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear about what this entrepreneurial journey is. That's exciting.
It's so exciting and it's so scary, but and I don't know half of these things, I'm not like a business major, right? So I'm learning along the way, but I know that as long as I stay true to my intentions and my why, very similar to a weight loss journey, I know that it will all fall into place.
Absolutely. No, definitely. I know I have kind of similar, experience when I left. I had been working, in clinical for about 15 and a half years before I left. And then I decided to open up my private practice. And it has been a steep learning curve, as I mentioned before we hit record today, just learning how to do things like podcast and marketing and all those things. And, I think, like you said, when your heart's in it and it's what lights you up and you're going to have ups and downs in the journey, just like with anything else. And, but with learning, determination, kind of keeping your heart open to, hey, I want to learn some things. I'm going to suck at some stuff. I'm going to be awesome at some things. And, just taking it from there. I mean, that's probably my best advice. I've had some things, not go great. And I was like, well, that didn't work, and
trial and error.
But so that's true. Fine. Just like anything, Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, that's awesome. We can't wait to see how you do with that. I'm going to be following your journey on that too. So tell us a little bit about your current fitness goals. What have you been doing, in terms of, your training program right now? What are you working towards?
Well, right now, my main goal is just to be consistent. Like I said,
sure.
I'm human like everyone else and as passionate as I am about fitness. Sometimes getting in there is the hardest battle of them all. But that's just my main goal is to stay consistent and to get back to that same point that I was before my skin removal surgery and then some. And of course to, keep working on my own form and being in the mindset of I'm going to be a trainer in addition to, Megan. So I need to make sure that
Sure.
I'm mindful and doing things, with the correct form and really focusing on mind muscle connection so that I can help relay that as well.
Absolutely.
As for what I'm doing right now, so my split is 3 to 4 times a week right now of strength training, rotating between push day, pull day, leg day, and I've been trying to incorporate some more active recovery and pelvic floor core exercises, but
Yeah.
cardio is cardio, and I plead the fifth.
I hear you on that as I was on my treadmill about an hour ago, trying to get in my, just some more steps each day. I know, I hear you.
Yep.
But that's great. So, and how many, just for folks listening, because I always get lots of questions, and, my area of expertise is the nutrition side.
Yeah.
So when folks ask me about, how long should I be working out? I say, let's talk to a personal trainer who that's their expertise. So typically when you work out and you're doing, push or pull day, how many different maybe exercises in total in a day? Are you doing like 5 or 6 total movements and 3 sets? How do you typically distribute your workout?
Actually, pretty much just about that. So never more than 5 or 6 exercises. And usually it'll be a combination of some compound movements. So those are your big guys. Those are like your deadlifts and your squats. But then also a lot of different isolation movements. But time-wise, honestly, I very rarely go over 45 minutes. Quality over quantity, always. And
Sure.
again, some people work out 5, 6, 7 days a week. Okay.
Yeah.
But, you don't need to do that to get results. You do not.
Yeah.
Rest is very important.
Agree. Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say too, is that, everyone's starting point is going to be different.
1,000,000%.
Some people might have a lengthy history of lifting prior to their surgery, and they can kind of jump back into things, and they always did 4 to 5 days a week and it worked fine. They were like, no, no problem. And then there's the folks that have really never done it. And it's like, oh my gosh, where do I start? And would you say, 3 times a week is kind of a good starting point, or more or less?
I do think that that's a good starting point. Absolutely. And also to make sure, and this is important from a strength training perspective, is once you find like a split, or once you find a structure, to keep doing that same one and to keep track of it, in a notebook. So I have a notebook where I always keep track of my reps and my weight. And when you're doing the same workouts, I do it for about 8 weeks at a time, always trying to, focus on progressive overload, lifting a little bit heavier, maybe some more time under tension, and having consistency with that same plan is where you're really going to see results, when you can look back 6 weeks ago and be like, wow, I was doing bicep curls with the 5-pound weights, but now I can do them with the 10, little things like that. So I think that 3 days a week to start for strength training is plenty.
Yeah. I love that. I love to hear that. And I love that your tip on the journaling, because I think that's such a powerful thing too, is sometimes, you're working out, or you might not see the, you're thinking that you get on a scale, which again, I'm more of a body composition person, but you might think that you're not seeing changes, but when you look back at things outside of the scale, you look back at things like your weight change in terms of how much strength you're gaining. That's great feedback. That says, look, I'm getting stronger. I mean, that's a great thing.
Absolutely. And, not just that, but, are you having more energy throughout the day? Are you sleeping better? Are you, feeling that connection, right? Mind muscle connection is huge. When you're doing something, you really feel that movement, that improves over time. And that's, all those little bits and pieces, that's progress. That's, and
Absolutely.
forget the scale. That's,
absolutely.
where the magic happens.
Yeah, for sure. And I would just say too, I've had lots of folks say, like, I just feel like my mobility is better, my flexibility, just like activities of daily living, being able to bend down and pick up a heavy box off my front step that I maybe before really couldn't do, but now I know how to squat properly, and I can carry things that are heavier. I hear that too. And it's like, yes, those are all great signs that you are doing amazing things in the gym. Keep it up,
Just living, like you said, doing your everyday things, and they start to become a little less, you're thinking about, how maybe you're struggling, or, but it's just seamless at that point. It's just like, oh, I'm doing this now. And then, I always tell people to focus on those non-skill victories and take a minute and think about that. Like, I never used to be able to do that. like that's
Right.
just come back down to earth for a second and realize how amazing that is.
Yeah. The change and the growth over time. I agree. And
Yeah.
I just, while we're on this topic, I wanted to say too, I love to having women in this field of encouraging other women that strength training and resistance training is so important but not only just body composition goals and being stronger, but like just in general, as we get older and we go through perimenopause and menopause, and we do see hormones change that kind of elicit more, body fat storage, it makes it more challenging. And
Yeah.
resistance training has been shown time and time again in research to really help with, especially women that are going into perimenopause and beyond, to really maintain that, musculature, keep their metabolism stimulated.
Yep.
I mean, it's so beneficial. And I'm just so glad that you're out there also. When I look at your, Instagram feed and all the things that you always talk about, I love it because I think it reinforces that idea that women can lift and it's okay.
Oh yeah.
It's a good thing.
I'm so passionate about, spreading that word. And something that I also acknowledge, and I was in those shoes, is that it's really scary, especially if you're in a public gym setting and you don't exactly know what to do.
Right.
And, I used to be the person that would just kind of hide in the corner on the treadmill and the elliptical because I didn't really know what to do.
Right.
But there's little bits and pieces that you can start with. And that's why, again, I'm so excited to finally get that going and I can help people more, qualified to do so.
Sure.
But there's a lot of resources out there right now that can get you started. And my advice to anybody that might be feeling that way is no one cares what you're doing. And if they do, that's really telling as to what kind of person they are.
So true.
The nicest people will come over and commend you or maybe help you. And don't be afraid to tap on someone's shoulder too, like, hey, you look like you know what you're doing. Would you mind, giving me a hand? Because everybody at that gym, no matter where they are in their journey, they're there to work on themselves.
Yep.
So you deserve, ladies, everybody, you deserve to be in the weight section as much as anybody else.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. And get in there. And like you said, if you don't know, find a resource or a certified personal trainer that can help you and get a program going. And I think something that, as we're saying here too, is I'm a person, I like structure. I like a plan. And like you mentioned before with the journal and progressive overload and seeing where you've been and where you are now, I think that's so helpful to have like parameters and feedback so that as you go, you can tweak or change. And that's what's beneficial about working with a coach who can help you, save time and do it in a, science-backed way that's going to help you to reach whatever those goals might be. So I'm a big fan of, working with a coach that knows what the heck they're talking about,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about, now change over kind of more to the nutrition side. So
Yeah.
as you have been, lifting more, how have you kind of changed your nutrition maybe in the last, year or so to fuel your workouts?
Yeah, so I think that the biggest challenge for me is when you're at a heavier weight, you're told your whole life that diet culture tells you you need to eat less, you need to eat less. And when you start lifting, you have to eat more. You have to fuel
Yes,
the
you do.
workouts. So it's like a whole thing where it's scary. You go your whole life being told the opposite. So something that I've done is I've taken the time to learn more about macronutrients, how they work. And I view nutrition labels very differently. So just as an example, it's really empowering to be able to go into the grocery store and look at the back of a label and see something that has 32 grams of carbs, and instead of saying like, oh, I need to put that back, getting excited because I'm thinking to myself, that's going to be a great pre-workout snack. So it's just changing the way that you think about nutrition. There's no good foods, there's no bad foods. Everything has its place. And another thing that drives me crazy is when people say food is fuel and like, that's it. Food is fuel, sure.
Yeah.
But food is also tradition. And
Yes.
it's making memories with your family.
Yep.
And you can adjust your nutrition to enjoy it while also
Yes.
hitting your goals.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And I know I talk a lot about that because what I try to get folk, kind of the message across is that, in this new kind of journey where we're lifting or we're running or whatever those fitness goals might be, those movement goals, food is going to help to make that better. It's
Yep.
going to help you when you're taking in the right amount of carbohydrates and protein and fat, and the calories can increase over time. That's what's going to allow you to reach these new and exciting goals. And I can't agree with you more about, just it doesn't have to just be chicken and rice and and broccoli.
Yeah.
There's so much more that can be done, and it can actually taste good, and it can help you to meet whatever those nutrient goals are. But yeah, I totally agree with you. So have you felt like as you've increased your your protein or your calories, your carbs, etc., how's that impacted your workouts? Are you feeling like you're seeing better results from it?
Absolutely, for sure. And you have more energy going into it as well. You don't have to rely on just taking a bunch of pre-workout. When you're fueling your body, you do feel those effects.
Yeah,
But it makes a huge difference. And, hitting your protein goals that's what's going to help you get the muscle that you want to see. And
totally.
everything has its place. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. And I think that's probably one of the biggest, questions that I get when folks reach out to me about, hey, I'm trying to just gain muscle. At what point am I supposed to be increasing my calories or my carbs, or my protein, whatever? And I always just tell folks, listen, as you increase your duration, your frequency, your intensity of your workouts, it's going to be time to start also incrementally increasing carbohydrates, protein, calories, etc. And it's hard to kind of say, everyone should increase X amount, because everyone's different. And so my approach to it is just kind of, taking it one meal at a time, taking it one day at a time in terms of small changes, adding some carbs here, some protein. Let's see if that helps. And then of course, more, if they want more specific numbers, I can do that too. But I don't know how you think of, when you started kind of increasing your frequency, did you feel like adding in additional snacks or bumping up protein at meals? Did that help you?
Yeah. So the biggest struggle is I started my weightlifting journey maybe 4 or 5 months after my VSG surgery. And
Okay.
I found myself getting burnt out, very quickly, but I also found myself struggling to eat meals that were, substantial enough to keep me going. So that's when I started
Sure.
to focus a little bit more on like snacks here and there and those more calorie dense snacks. And
Mhm.
that actually, reminds me that something that drives me nuts. And you were just saying before how it's not all one size fits all, is that
Totally.
I've learned that many bariatric surgeons are providing guidance to their patients that's very dangerous. And,
Yeah. In what way?
and my heart sinks when I get messages from people saying, like, hey, my surgeon told me that I can't eat more than 800 to 1,000 calories per day. And these are not immediately post op patients. These are people that
Right.
are a year and a half, 2, 3, even more, years out. I
Totally.
can't eat carbs. I can't, I can't have snacks, only 3 meals a day. And it angers me because, and this is just like a very personal opinion, these people are going to bariatric surgeons at a point where they're very vulnerable and they are so desperate for help, and they're professionals that they're putting their trust in, and they're trying to escape a disordered eating, and these surgeons are putting them into a different kind of disordered eating. And it
Yeah.
just frustrates me. And that's why I'm so grateful and appreciative of people like you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, and I would say to that too, Megan, because I have had that debate many times with colleagues and surgeons and everything in between. And what I think, where I think the missing key is to that is there's no research. There's hardly any research right now out there really looking at active bariatric individuals. And so what I think, this is just my own opinion, I could be wrong, but where I agree with you on the fact that I don't think it's the right advice. It's just like, well, we don't have any research, so we're just going to keep doing it's like, well, but that's guidance for folks that are initially post-op. What
Yeah,
about this person here who's running a marathon? Like, what about this person here who wants to put on muscle mass and really wants to put on like 10 pounds of muscle mass or more, or whatever it might be,
right.
those numbers don't work. And they end up coming back with low energy availability. And that can actually turn into other real issues, other medical conditions
Yep.
that are another problem, And so I feel like one of the reasons I wanted to do like this podcast and have folks on, guests, people that are actually living this, is because I'm hoping that we're shedding more light on our active community to say, hey, let's do some real research and look at what are the needs of someone that's lost a lot of, weight, has reduced their metabolism through a low caloric intake. How do we now stimulate metabolism? How do we gain muscle? How do we train for marathons? And, how do we do that? And I'm not sure whose tree to bark up, but hopefully someone's listening that will take me up on that,
I hope so.
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you.
I hope so that we get to a point to, where that there is more research on that. But, whenever I get messages like that, and it happens way more than I would want it to, the first thing I always say is, how's your energy? You're like, how are you feeling? Just like kind of remove yourself for a second. Like, just talk to me. Like, how are you feeling? Sure. But I always encourage people to really take control of themselves and not be afraid to seek other professional opinions if something seems a little off. If you're questioning it, there's never anything wrong with getting another professional opinion.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And it can just be, sometimes folks come to me and I'll be like, hey, we're just going to try to increase by 200 calories. And it's like night and day. It's, hey, we're going to incorporate a small carbohydrate snack pre-workout, 15 to 30 carbs. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe this applesauce pouch changed my life, and I've literally had people say those exact words, and you're just like, but that's powerful. And that's what worked for that person, and what we have to do is find what works for you. You know what I mean? And I know it's a lot of trial and error. Like you said, I couldn't agree with you more.
We're going to get there.
I know. We're going to change it. So down that same line, then, what are some of the biggest maybe fitness or nutrition lessons that you've learned over these last few years?
Gosh, I think, like I just said, and what you just said, there really is no one size fits all. And, the very cliche, carbs aren't bad, carbs don't make you fat. I have taken a lot of time to go outside of, a packet provided by my surgeon and, read into science-backed information, from different people online. And there's so many different resources. One that I really love to follow is Lane Norton, Bio Lane.
Yeah.
He is very informative, and the lesson just being that there's no reason to fear food, even though food is very much what got many of us in a position to where we did want to have surgery. There's a way to have a relationship with it to where you can go into the grocery store and get excited to buy Rice Krispie treats. It takes time, and it takes, a lot of self-healing, but educate yourself. I urge you that you committed to yourself to have surgery. You made a huge decision to have that surgery. I guarantee you probably researched it. Adopt that mentality to continue learning after your surgery.
Yeah, I love that. No, that's such a good piece of advice. Because I think, because the surgery is that's just like the starting point. That's not the end point, of the journey. It's the new starting point, to have a reset. I agree with you. And I think the more folks that just, reach out and if you don't know, find the resources or find the folks that can direct you in the way, to answer whatever questions those might be. Yep. Yeah. So I totally agree with you on that. Tell me a little bit about, how's your mindset changed in regards to, being consistent. I know you said that that's kind of one of your main goals right now is just being consistent, and that's awesome. But how's your mindset changed around that over time? Has there been any, different ways that you're thinking about things with nutrition or movement goals?
You have to have a plan, instead of going into something blindly, have a plan. And also ditching the all or nothing mentality. Because that's something that sets you up for disappointment. It sets you up for failure. That's, that situation where if you fall off, then you feel guilty, and it's just this vicious cycle. So with consistency and mindset changes, small changes, big results. I spent so many years yo-yoing because I tried to make a 180 change overnight. and it's impossible. It would be like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow. It's Monday, new week. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to throw out everything in my pantry and eat chicken and rice because that's what you have to do. And that just doesn't work. So little changes here and there. Just an example, my stepmom, I'm helping her right now, and she had a really big love for like Pop Secret popcorn. So I was like, hey, let's swap it for some Air Pop popcorn. And it's those little changes, little itty bitty changes that makes a huge difference. And then the other thing that I think is really important to remember is being kind to yourself and shifting just the way that you actually talk to yourself, and talking to yourself as if you were a friend. So would you ever tell your friend, you fell off track, you're a failure? I would never tell my friend that. No. You would fuel them with, encouragement and positivity, and you should do the same exact thing for yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I know. I think that's a hard lesson to learn, I think, for anyone in any phase, because I think we all are our toughest critics. And,
of course,
it's that self-negative talk, but it really impacts you from day to day if you're just constantly beating yourself down and not giving yourself a chance to, you're trying. Every day is a new day to make a small change. And I love that you said that, because I think that's so key too, is that you can't overhaul everything in one day, 1 week, 1 month. Honestly, for a lot of folks, to make real significant changes, if we get back into like talking about like resistance training or body composition changes, it takes months and months and months, maybe a year, maybe longer. And it doesn't happen overnight, but the small little changes that you're doing each day, those are cumulative and those add up. And those are what, like you said, lead to the big results. So I totally agree with you on that. Let me ask you this. So if you could give someone one piece of advice, or you can give more than one, but what would be some advice that you might give to someone that's listening?
Let's see. I would say that, again, if you're looking to, have a goal for yourself, to have that plan and hold yourself accountable while being kind to yourself, but also don't be afraid to pivot your plan to better suit your lifestyle. And here's what I mean by that. If you are making those small changes and you realize that one small change just is not doing it for you, maybe it's working, but it's just not really fueling your fire. It's not, making you feel good in other ways. Don't be afraid to pivot. So what I am doing today for my nutrition and my movement is completely different than what I was doing while losing 100 pounds. As you can see, they both contribute towards my fitness goals, but they're two very different things. So when you're looking to make that true lifestyle change, make sure what you're doing actually fits into your lifestyle. Because if you can't realistically do it daily, you're gonna go back, and then you never fail unless you give up, and you never give up unless you completely stop trying. So and just be committed to yourself. Again, you committed to this surgery, commit to you. And if you're pre-op and you haven't had surgery, you can still commit to yourself in many other ways. And I just want to remind anybody listening that you are worth it, and you deserve to prioritize yourself and, give yourself the life that you want. You can wish for it or work for it. I don't know if you can see my sign there.
But absolutely.
Put that work in, make sure it's sustainable, and lean into the community. There's so many. When I tell you the electric energy in that room at the Bariatric Awards, I mean, just, you're not alone. You're not alone. And you have such a backbone behind you. Lean into the community.
I love that. I love that advice right there. That is beautiful, because that's so true. And I know when I first started kind of, on my own, I didn't really know a lot of folks online. And because having worked in clinical, you're not putting anything out there on the internet or anything like that. And so when I, opened up my own practice and I went online, I met so many cool people. And through this podcast, of course, I've gotten a chance to really talk to folks and get to meet people better. But I can't agree with you more that, the community is so supportive and just want to share things and want to help each other and support each other and encourage and lean into it. I love that.
Absolutely.
We're going to call that lean into it. I agree with you.
I have to tell you that when I started, this last time in 2018, this last fitness journey, and that's when I started and decided I'm not going to stop. I made my Instagram account, and I am so wholeheartedly passionate about and convinced that made a difference, because I have made so many friends on social media. It's crazy. But having this account, that did it. That was a huge thing. And not everybody's going to want to share their journey on social media. That's fine.
Yeah.
But follow people, draw inspiration from them, learn from them, Yeah.
Use the resources that are out there. Yeah, I agree. Okay. And I have one other question for you. Okay. So if you could talk to Megan pre-surgery, what is one thing you think you might want to tell her?
Don't care what other people think. And remember that you getting this surgery isn't to please anybody else. It's to do it for you. No one else is living in your body. No one else is going through the struggles that you're going through. And anybody who ever does tell you that it's like the easy way out or makes you feel any kind of guilt or questioning, going through with bariatric surgery, I mean, if it's the easy way out, why wouldn't everybody do it?
Yeah, that's so true.
So
I love
do it for you, Meg. That's what I would say. Do it for you. And hi, I'm future Meg, and you're going to be so glad you did.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, tell everybody, where can they follow you? Where can they, kind of follow your journey and maybe your business, journey as well?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram and TikTok. I don't really know how to TikTok. I'm working on it. Mostly on Instagram. But my handle is megans.mission. So MEGANS.mission. And I do have like the link tree in my bio on Instagram. And there's also a way to email me there as well. It's probably, if there's any, inquiries about coaching in the future, let me know and we'll keep in touch. You'll be the first to know. But that's probably better there so it doesn't get lost in my inbox on Instagram. So if you want to work together, I would love for you to be my first client. Let's change some lives.
I love it. You guys give her a follow. I'm going to put your information in the show notes here so that folks can just click on that. It'll take you right to her Instagram page. But thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed our conversation today. I really did. Thank you so much for everything that you shared.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for what you're doing, for the community and spreading that awareness and fighting the good fight with all of us.
I appreciate that. Thank you. No, I'm excited to do it. It's a dream. And like you said, when you open up your own kind of business and you get to do what you love, it's so rewarding. And I just wish you the best in terms of your new entrepreneurial journey. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're going to do awesome. Okay, you guys. Well, please follow Megan. Check her out if you don't already. I'm sure you probably already do because Megan's amazing. But I appreciate your time. And just so you guys know, you can watch the full episode of this podcast on my YouTube channel, which is the Active Bariatric Nutrition channel. So please subscribe to that. Give it a like. And also, if you wouldn't mind, hit subscribe wherever you are listening to your podcasts right now so that you know when we upload a new episode, it'll just pop up there in your little library, and give it a rating and a review if you don't mind. And then, of course, you can follow me on my social media, which on my Instagram is Active Bariatric. And I also have a TikTok channel. Not the best at TikTok either, Megan, but I'm working on it. But it's the Active Bariatric Nutrition channel. And then I have also a Facebook community. So if you are interested in joining my private Facebook community, you just go and search for Active Bariatric Nutrition Community on Facebook, and you can join us there. And then lastly, if you'd like to learn more about my bariatric nutrition coaching services, please go to my website, which is activebariatricnutrition.com. Feel free to schedule a discovery call so we can get to know each other a little bit more. So again, thanks so much, Megan, for being here today. I appreciate it. And for everyone listening, thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for being here. And we'll do this again next week. Take care, everybody.